Hey everyone, my name is Jessie James, and I am going to do a sort of different format of video today. I guess I should look at the camera. So I was asked to do Nicolandria synastry from Love Island, and I definitely want to. I also want to talk about Amaya's chart, and I want to talk about Andreina's chart. And I usually set up in my living room and do things a little bit more formally with my microphone and everything. But I just drove to my voice lesson and then found out it was canceled because it's the week of 4th of July, and then drove home. And now I'm just like, okay, well, I have an extra hour. What am I going to do? So I thought I'd do just like an analysis on the fly without any formalities like I usually have. And I hope that you like it. And if you do, let me know, because it's a lot easier for me to do more videos if I can just like not really prepare for them and sit at my desk. Because I usually do a lot of preparation for like my podcast episodes, but I also do a lot of chart analyses without having the luxury of having several hours to write about them first. Anyway, I'm going to start with Nicolandria synastry because that is what I got a request for. So I'm going to put up the chart right here. The blue symbols on the inside are Olandria's chart. She is a Gemini sun. This chart is set for noon. I don't have birth times for either or any of these people. So she either has her moon in Cancer or in Leo. Not quite sure. I think in my episode where I did Olandria's birth chart in general, I said that I thought she was a Cancer moon because I think that the woman who's going after Taylor repeatedly, despite him like showing her over and over again that he is not into her, I think feels like a Cancer moon to me. But it could also be a Leo moon because Leo moons are people who, if there's a group of 8 people and 7 of them like them, but one person is not really giving them anything, they will go after that one person and try to make them like them. And I think that might be what's happening with Olandria, but I also think it might be some sort of Cancerian, like, I am a nurturing mother and I have found this man that I want to pretend is my child and he is mine forever and I will never let him go. So I don't know. Honestly, a toss-up. However, I was seeing a lot of astrologers say that they think that Olandria has a Capricorn rising. So let me actually reconfigure this chart and see what that says. Okay, there's a Capricorn rising. And if she has a Capricorn rising, then she has a Leo moon. So if that is true, then Leo moon is true. But anyway, looking at their chart, like it doesn't have that many negative aspects. There are some oppositions and some squares, but just in general, it's looking like they have a lot of supportive aspects. Nicolandria hive, we are up. I'm going to be careful about which aspects I do to the moon, and I'm not going to do aspects to any of the angles because I don't know that information to be sure, but let's see what we've got. Honestly, it is really looking to me like they have very positive synastry. Once again, like Nicolandria hive, we are up. I know that we were down because they kissed and they were like, oh, it's just friends, but I don't know, I believe. I said that, and then the first thing I'm going to say is that they have this really hard aspect. So Nicolandria, oh my gosh. So Olandria's sun in Gemini opposes Nick's Mars in Sagittarius. And having a sun oppose Mars is very much like a battle of the egos. And I think that it's pretty clear that Nick is a pretty egotistical person. And so sex for these people, or sex in a relationship where you have this aspect, is a little bit more about power and a little bit less about love. But I don't think that makes it a relationship like inherently not work. I think that it just depends on the personalities of the people involved. So I'm not writing it off. This builds up a little because Olandria's sun in Gemini also opposes Nick's moon in Sagittarius, and it can be within like a 6-degree orb of where it is on this chart, but it's still in Sagittarius opposing Olandria's sun. And so these are people who have conflicting wants and needs. The sun represents our ego and our life's journey and where we want to go, and our moon represents what we need emotionally. So if this is in one person, it's saying that you need to balance feeding your needs and feeding your wants and make sure they both seem recognized. I was just talking about this in the Julia Fox episode. But within a couple, it's like what one person wants is very different from what the other person needs. And I might suggest like maybe this isn't the right relationship for you, but you can always make it work. I just, with this opposition and the opposition of the Mars, I'm like, we're already not off on a good foot. Like, we're already on pretty shaky ground, but let's keep going. Let's see what we find. See, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm like, this completely makes sense with the dynamic that we've seen so far, because Olandria's sun in Gemini is conjunct Nick's Jupiter in Gemini, and this gives the relationship like a sense of optimism. It makes so much sense to me that these two people would come meet each other on Love Island and be like, our relationship could be amazing. Like, have all of these, like, oh, why don't we just try it? But, like, the actual fundamental meshing of them doesn't go anywhere because they have such different things that they, like, want and need. But this aspect, the Sun conjunct Jupiter, is giving the thing that drove Nick to be like, let's kiss. Like, let's just see what happens. I do think that they are really good as friends, though, because Olandria's Mercury in Taurus makes a sextile to Nick's Sun in Pisces. And also, I would never recommend that anyone date a Pisces man, much less my sister, Olandria, the most amazing person ever. And let's face it, Olandria is a Gemini. Geminis are so smart, they're so intelligent, they're so clever, and they're able to see every single thing that's going on and figure out exactly what needs to be done, except when it comes to their own stuff, which is why Olandria has turned a blind eye to Taylor hating her. And so in a relationship with a Pisces, another mutable sign square to Gemini, like, she's not going to be able to see what he's doing and all of his bullshit, especially because Pisces are also mutable. And so they could sort of like chameleon their way into any situation and hide their true intentions because mutable signs are able to be really clever and like undercover almost. I think that he would immediately recognize, especially since he's seen how she interacts with Taylor, that he can pull some shit and get away with it with her. And I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all for Olandria. I think that she deserves a lot better than any of this. But her Mercury in Taurus is sextile his sun in Pisces, which means that they have like free-flowing, easy communication. They can understand each other. Olandria's Pluto in Sagittarius is also, I mean, a pretty wide conjunction, but a conjunction nonetheless, with Nick's moon in Sagittarius. So this creates, once again, that like magnetic pull between them. Like, they really feel like they should give it a chance. But just because you have a magnetic pull to someone does not mean that you should be in a relationship with them. Honestly, it often doesn't, because we get magnetically pulled to situations that remind us of traumatic situations in our lives. This is why victims of narcissistic abuse fall for narcissists over and over. It feels like home to them. So the magnetic attraction is there. That's clear. They tried it, but that is not enough to make a relationship work. Okay, there's a lot going on with Mercury here, and Mercury is the ruler of Olandria's sun sign, Gemini, so I do want to look at this. The impression I'm getting off the bat is that they are better as friends, which I have already mentioned, but I want to see a little bit more what's going on. Olandria is 27 and Nick is 24, and so like I think she actually might be more suited to like a mentor position for him, and I think I'm extra getting that because of some of these Mercury aspects. Oh, my cat's here. Isn't he cute? Mezzy, say hello. Mezzy, say hello. Oh, look, he said hi. Olandria's Mercury conjunct Nick's Saturn exactly. And I don't really like this. Like, I don't like that it's Nick's Saturn and Olandria's Mercury. I might like it if it was the other way around. But because Saturn is like the planet of old age, this is a situation where like the Saturn partner feels more wise and feels like it has to lead the Mercury partner. Mercury is like a trickster. Lead the Mercury partner to like knowledge, and the Mercury partner turns off the more like fun and frivolous parts of their personality because Saturn is so stodgy and formal. And so I don't actually like this. I don't like this. How to lose a crack ship in 10 minutes. But at the same time, Olandria's Saturn is in Aries and it sextiles Nick's Mercury in Aquarius. So this is a little bit less strong than the conjunction aspect, but a sextile is supportive. And so it seems like they actually might have this relationship in mutuality where they both sort of encourage the other person to be more mature or be smarter. I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. I've got to be completely honest. I feel this for a mentorship or like a manager and managee relationship a lot more than I feel it for a romantic one. And then in general, Olandria's Mercury in Taurus is square Nick's Mercury in Aquarius, and that just represents two people who think differently, and they're both in fixed signs. So even though they both have mutable suns, their fixed Mercuries is that like they're very fixed in their ways of communicating and speaking. I think we're actually seeing this side of Nick come out more now that Elan's in the villa and he's like fighting with him. I don't love it. Like, I think that Nick is at his best. Actually, I think that most people with mutable signs are at their best when they're leaning into their mutability. And that could just be the fact that I have a mutable big three. But I'm personally just not a fan of when people sit and they're like, well, this is what I believe and this is what is right and I won't hear anything else. Because I think that communication and narrative are like the foundation of our society. So interestingly, they have a lot of Uranus aspects together, which again contributes to this feeling of like, this is chaos. Like, this is something that's exciting. It's something that's confusing. I don't really know what's going on. I want to find out more. But then you find out more and you see, oh, we're just not very compatible. And also, like, excitement and chaos and Uranus stuff isn't really fun for the long haul in a relationship, which most people I feel are looking for relationships that are stable. I don't know, maybe I'm just boring, but like relationships that are stable, because the world is crazy and a relationship could be a place that you come home to. I feel like my own personal astrology placements are biasing me. I'm sure there are people who love toxic relationships. But basically, I see what's pulling them together. And what's pulling them together is that one, Olandria's Uranus in Aquarius is sextile Nick's Moon in Sagittarius, which adds just a degree of unpredictability into the relationship that draws these two people together to see what happens next. Olandria's Uranus in Aquarius is also sextile Nick's retrograde Venus in Aries, which adds, once again, excitement and a pull of magnetism to the relationship, but is a very unstable aspect, especially with Venus being retrograde in its sign of detriment in Aries. Not stable. Like, this is a relationship where it's very hard to plan a future because you just don't know what direction you're going to go in at any given time. Olandria's Mercury in Taurus is square Nick's Uranus in Aquarius, and Olandria's Uranus in Aquarius is sextile Nick's Mars in Sagittarius. And it's just one thing after the other. Unstable, 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 unstable. I'm not feeling like these people would date in the real world. I don't think it would go beyond like a one night stand or two. So I'm sorry to the Nicolandria shippers of the world, myself included. I am going to say that though there are many positive aspects on this chart, though we have a lot of sextiles and trines and blue lines and a lot of red lines, I think that a lot of the positive aspects are indicating that there is short-term compatibility, but in the long term, things wouldn't pan out. And so that is going to be my final analysis on this one. Nick and Olandria, not meant to be. Oh no, a Pisces man can't find a girl. What's gonna happen to our world? Maybe Olandria can date Shelley. All right, on to my main course, the Amaya Papaya birth chart. Amaya is a Scorpio, but Amaya is a Scorpio who was up in the morning in the bedroom singing "It's a Beautiful Day to Have a Beautiful Day," doing cartwheels, singing songs. She's perfection, but it's not very Scorpio. And so I strongly believe that Amaya is Sagittarius rising because of her positive and buoyant energy, and because she is exactly like my best friend who's a Sagittarius rising. Every word out of her mouth, basically, I'm like, that is exactly what Steph would say in this situation, and my friend Steph is a Sagittarius rising, and so I strongly believe it. I also believe that Amaya is a Sagittarius moon. For her date of birth, her moon is either in Sag or Capricorn, and I just don't see her moon being in Capricorn. So I have rectified this chart to have a Sagittarius rising where the moon is also in Sagittarius. I don't know her birth time. This is just my guess and my interpretation, but I'm going to use this as a starting point. Something that makes a lot of sense to me is that Amaya's Mercury is in Scorpio. I think that in her fights with Ace, when she kept saying the same thing over and over, and he was trying to say the same thing over and over, I think that's very Scorpionic to like not want to let someone else get their words in, but to just make sure like what you want to say, and as a Scorpio that what you're saying is right and needs to be heard, and you will not let someone else talk over you. Very, very Scorpio Mercury to me. And I love that about her, like turning the dark sides of Scorpio onto evil men. And remember, Ace is like a really, really purely evil man based on his actions and on his birth chart. Like, that is exactly what Scorpios are here for. If Katy Perry took her 8 Scorpio placements and turned them like against all of the evil conservatives in this world instead of pandering to them and going on their rocket ships, maybe we could achieve world peace. I'm praying and I'm hoping. Amaya also has a Capricorn Mars, an exalted Mars, the best Mars placement that you can have, which means that she is goal-oriented. She's a nurse. Like, she's very smart. She's very successful. She's passed her nursing exams. She talked about tachycardic on Love Island. First time that word's ever been on Love Island. And I just think that she's super smart. And so Mars in Capricorn, the best place it can be in, where it's exalted. And Mars does so well in Capricorn because it can be so practical. Like, Capricorn Marses are very much grounded in reality. They are goal-oriented. They are success-driven. Once again, I was just talking about this in the Julia Fox episode. She has a Capricorn Mars. A lot of celebrities have Capricorn Mars because this is a placement that lets you not just want something and dream about it, but also say, okay, so let's go. Like, let's go get it. What are we even waiting for? Amaya's Mars in Capricorn is also exactly sextile her sun in Scorpio. So her Martian energy and her really strong ability to set goals and go after what she wants supports her sun in her sun's journey. And the Scorpio journey is about being a healer. And a lot of the time, like, her whole life journey might be about being a nurse. I don't know how she's going to fold in Instagram and social media into this, but her Martian drive is what empowered her to be able to study for her nursing exam and go through nursing school and interview and get a job at a hospital, which is supportive to her son's journey in Scorpio, which is to be a healer and go through like endless death, rebirth, and transformation. Amaya's Neptune in Aquarius makes a trine to her Venus in Libra, and this Venus-Neptune aspect is all about idealizing love, like having a romanticized version of what a relationship looks like in your head and holding out for a person who fits that, or like entering a relationship but realizing that you don't really like the parts of it that are day-to-day relationship things. You don't like the way it's that it diverges from the romanticized version that you have in your head, and so you like leave that relationship immediately. I think that Amaya is a hopeless romantic. I think that comes across pretty clearly in her interviews and the way she carries herself, and I think that's great. I love that for her, but it's very Venus-Neptune. Amaya also has this fixed T-square that I am finding very interesting because at the tip of the T-square is Uranus in Aquarius, and then it squares both Saturn in Taurus and her sun in Scorpio. And so I think that this is really interesting because Saturn and Uranus like are very different energies. Uranus is all about instability and chaos and change, and Saturn is all about like the opposite: discipline, responsibility, form, boundaries. And so when these two are in aspect, even in a tense aspect, it's sometimes a mark of a revolutionary, like someone who is able to give form, Saturn, to revolutionary ideas, Uranus. And there is nothing that I've ever believed more in my whole entire life than that Amaya Papaya is a revolutionary. Period. And then in the same thing, we get her sun. Once again, her sun's journey in Scorpio, which is a sign that's all about change and transformation. So I think that we have a real like Fidel Castro, Vladimir Lenin, like some real revolutionary who's going to work for the people on our hands. And I'm obsessed with it. Amaya Papaya is coming to save the day just when we needed her most. But people who have Uranus-Saturn aspects in their birth chart A lot of the time, how it manifests depends on which of these two is more strongly placed in the birth chart. Uranus is actually the modern ruler of Aquarius, so I think that Uranus in Aquarius, I would say, is a stronger position than Saturn in Taurus, which doesn't really have any sort of like, it's not domicile, it's not exalted. If she's a Sagittarius rising, it would be her sixth house, and Saturn doesn't care about the sixth house. So I think that Uranus is actually the stronger planet in this combination, and I think that that makes sense. It comes across. People who have this aspect but have Saturn as a stronger planet, if Saturn was in its domiciles of Capricorn or Aquarius, or its sign of exaltation, Libra, or even in the 12th house where it finds its planetary joy, then the person might be scared, like spend at least most of their early life being very scared of change and being very hesitant and lean more towards the Saturn side, and then later in life be able to find their voice and maybe become a revolutionary. But having the Uranus be the stronger planet from the get-go means that this is someone who wants to change society, the world, rebel against social norms, and has the ability with Saturn there to give form to those norms. So I am calling it now, Amaya Papaya, one to watch on the revolutionary front, and I'm very excited to see it. And having a sun oppose Saturn is very much giving that, like, she might not have had that much attention paid to her when she was young, and she might fear authority because she had authority wielded against her, either from a father figure because of Saturn, or from some other authority that could be from school, from society, from culture. And as a result, she found herself feeling extra small. And so one of her life goals is saying, like, well, I don't want to be like that authority that pushed me down, is once again, with Uranus here, is saying, like, I want to rebel against the societal norms that made me feel really small. And this is why I believe that Amaya is going to take down Ace. Or at least that's the fanfic in my head. And I don't think there's anything else that I really want to talk about here. If you have any questions about any of these aspects, let me know. But I just see the chart of a real revolutionary who's going to fix all of our societal problems. Everyone say thank you, Miss Amaya Papaya. And finally, Andreina. And when I saw this chart, I was like, we have to cover this because it's giving gorgeous. And obviously, she's giving most stunning woman alive. But she has a mini grand trine with Venus in Aries at the center, making sextiles to Mercury in Gemini, Gemini at home, and to Neptune in Aquarius. Venus, of course, planet of love and beauty and harmony. When it's an aspect, especially positive aspect with Mercury, that makes someone whose voice is like very easy to fall in love with, like someone who you could fall in love with over the phone, but also someone who just in general is very affable and charming and peace-loving and always wants to avoid confrontation, but is just like a very magnetic and charming person. I think everyone can see that's Andreina to a T. Venus and Neptune, similar to Amaya, but this is a sextile, so a slightly less easy aspect, but also someone who definitely romanticizes relationships. And then Mercury trining Neptune as the base, she is able to lie her little pants off and have everyone believe her. So this is so interesting. People were like, why is Andreina on this show? Like, she can literally bag a billionaire. And she very clearly can, because she has a Neptune and Mercury in aspect. She can lie her face off. She could tell a billionaire that, yeah, she supports him. Yeah, she thinks he's hot or whatever, and then just take all his money and run. And I do think that that might be in her plan at one of these points, but I think right now she's really in a Taurus sun journey. And the way that she settled down with Jeremiah and then immediately settled down with Brian was giving Taurus, like, I just want to find something that makes me happy. And then I want to sit on this damn couch and enjoy my vacation. But now that she's opening to Pepe, I think her Gemini Mercury side is coming out a little bit more. And I love to see it because there's something about Brian. I don't think he's unattractive. I think that the way he maintains his beard leaves a little something to be desired. I also think he has really bad tattoos, but so does Pepe. You know, we're in an epidemic of men who have horrible tattoos. It just, what are we going to do about that? Ace has his name tattooed on his back and not in a sexy way. Very similar to Amaya, Andreina also has her sun in Taurus, squaring her Uranus in Aquarius. And so she and Amaya are both people who are not really people who want to fit the status quo. They feel very, very strongly that they want to be different from other people. They want to be unique individuals. And this usually happens because they had a father or a father figure, represented by the sun, who neglected them, who wasn't present for them, either physically or emotionally, when they were children. And so they developed this need to do things themselves. They were like, well, my dad either doesn't do things for me or clearly doesn't want to be doing things for me, and so I can just do them myself. But in doing this, they developed this sort of like hyper independence, and that translated to being a person in society and made them not want to be like anyone else. And I love that, because I think being your own unique individual is like the coolest thing that you can be. Second to last thing I'll talk about in Andreina's chart is that she has her Jupiter in Gemini opposing her Pluto in Sagittarius. And Jupiter-Pluto is something I talked about with Kris Jenner's chart, but it's wealth in buried matter. So this is a common placement with people who make their money literally from like coal mining or like some sort of jewel mining, or from having a recycling empire. Which I'm still trying to get Kris Jenner on that train to save our environment instead of ruining it. But it can also be buried matter within yourself. So that is like your subconscious, like your intelligence that people don't see on the surface of you. And I think it might be that. Like, Andreina seems like a total nerd. I'm obsessed with her. She seems like really cool and fun. But obviously, when men see her, they're like, hubba hubba, and then they don't think that she's smart. So I think that her intelligence is considered buried matter societally. And I think that the Jupiter aspect, especially being in Gemini, it's going to get her a lot of places to have that sort of intelligence and cleverness. And then she also has Mercury in Gemini opposing Pluto in Sagittarius. And Mercury-Pluto aspects are just people who have an obsessive need to know. They know when you're lying. Don't lie to them, because they already know what the answer is. They know the truth. You're not hiding anything from them. But two, they're just going to think that you're a liar, because they can always tell when you're lying. These people have an obsessive desire to communicate, an obsessive need to know, and just like a really, really strong intuition, and they will sniff out a rat every single time. And I need that in this villa. I'm really glad that Andreina is starting to explore her connections and get a little bit more vocal, because there are a lot of people in this villa that need to be called out. There are also specifically a lot of people in this villa that need to go the fuck home. Austin, Taylor, Ace, like, get Ace out of the way so Shelly can be with Chris, please. Because if Shelly doesn't pick Chris, after that side-by-side shot, I have 4 angles of this saved to my computer of them walking where Ace is literally a child. And Ace is a child. He's 22. Shelly's 27. Next to this 6'8" professional basketball player who has money. Like, you are fumbling the bag, Shelly. Like, if she picks Ace, I fully am bought in on them scamming. I'm already almost fully bought in on it, because this is not a choice, girl. Like, there's a correct answer here. This is not, what should I do? Obviously, you picked the hotter, taller, richer, more successful, older one. Were you born yesterday? And I know she wasn't, which is why I think that she's actually scamming. But anyway, yeah. Ace, Austin, Taylor need to go out of this villa immediately. Thank you. And that's all I had to say. I'll probably do one more Love Island astrology video before the end of the season. So if you have any requests for synastry or charts that you would like me to look at, definitely let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I would love if you subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And just to let everyone know, today is the last day of June. It's June 30th, and therefore the last day that I'm running my 20% off business launch promo on my astrology readings, which you can access at calendly.com/popstrology. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you soon. Bye.